Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are located. Welcome to our webinar, An Introduction to Solumina iSeries, presented by Erin Meswera, Solutions Engineer at iBASEt. My name is Jennifer Evans, Field Marketing Manager at iBase-t, and I'll be moderating and facilitating questions that will be responded to by Erin at the conclusion of her presentation. But before we get started, I want to share a few housekeeping items. To reduce background noise and ensure Erin comes through clearly, everyone's lines will be muted. Today's session is being recorded, so you will be able to watch the session again or share with others in a day or so. We do encourage questions, so please submit the questions. Please submit via the questions box in the control panel. We have time left available at the end for Erin to respond. If we run out of time, Erin will respond directly to you after the presentation has concluded. Now, without further delay, I'm pleased to introduce you to Erin Meswera, Solutions Engineer at iBase-t. Before joining iBase-t, Erin was a former Solumina product owner at an iBase-t customer in the aerospace and defense industry. As a champion for manufacturing and quality best practices, she brings a dual perspective of both end user and solution provider. Erin will now provide an introduction to Solumina iSeries, including how it works, what can be accomplished, and the value that can be achieved by adding manufacturing intelligence to your iBase-t manufacturing execution system. Over to you, Erin.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer. And just to be clear, so thank you, Jennifer. I did do a manufacturing intelligence overview last year, so I do hope everyone who's interested in MI check that out on our website and check out the webinar that I presented last year. But today we are going to be focusing on iSeries as an introduction to iSeries, and we're actually going to spend quite a bit of time taking a deeper look into the iSeries web UI platform. Okay, so thanks so much, Jennifer. And let's kick this off. So again, welcome everyone. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Erin Meswera. I'm a solution engineer here. So today what we're going to do is walk through that iSeries iSeries web UI demonstration. And we're going to spend a lot of time in that taking a look at some of the features that you may or may not have seen before, including execution of a work order, walking through supervisor and technician capabilities, checking out our integrated quality solution, as well as all of the traceability that we have in the solution. But before we do that, I really wanted to introduce you to what iSeries is, and also maybe who we are, iBase-t. Perhaps you're new to iBase-t, so we'd really love to welcome you here. And again, thank you for finding your way to this webinar. Before we conclude, we'll talk a little bit about what's to come. Our product team is working diligently to continue to evolve our product through different releases, many different releases a year, to continue to advance that web UI. And our technology stack really allows for that. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the demo. But we'll see that there's much to come. So we're really just getting a taste or an introduction of what we're going to see in the iSeries web UI platform today. And then, as Jennifer mentioned, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to add those to the chat. Jennifer will be monitoring the chat, and we will take all questions at the end of the session. We should have some time at the end to discuss. So please jot those down, add them to the chat, and I'd love to try to answer those for you toward the end. Okay, so let's jump right in. So as I mentioned before we get started, I really wanted to introduce you to who we are at iBase-t. Perhaps you're new to us and you found us, so thank you again for finding your way here. So iBase-t has been around for over 30 years, really focusing on how best to serve our aerospace industry and essentially complex discrete manufacturing. So when we take a look at that, we've really found our niche in complex discrete manufacturing and really working and evolving with our customer base throughout our lifetime in trying to provide excellence in that process, really ensure that we are focusing on compliance, quality, and control. So you'll find that as you may have been working with iBase-t and you're interested in iSeries, our newest release, or if you are new to our organization. In 2020, in October 2020, we launched our Solumina iSeries. So we had formerly been on a G-Series platform, Windows client, and now we've evolved to our web-based latest release of our next generation of our suite of application solutions. So some of the highlights here, including that with iSeries, we're now cloud native. We have a new technology stack built on our microservices architecture. It's going to allow for quick implementations and smooth transitions to upgrades, as well as an easier way to integrate to third-party applications to really fully create that full value stream. So if you're new again, welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about the focus today on iSeries. So before we do that as well, we want to take a look at the total digital ecosystem. So perhaps you think about your organization. Your organization may be new to digital transformation. Perhaps you're still working with paper-based systems, or maybe you have many different perhaps you have an ERP in place or even an MES in place, and you're looking to get more information about how you can really integrate your solutions together. So when we take a look at where Solumina iSeries Operation Suite falls in the value chain, we really see it kind of throughout. We talk about that value stream. We want to start with design and engineering. We can think about, okay, when we're talking about these designs, maybe we're thinking about other systems. We have our product development. Maybe we're starting to consider as part of our digital transformation model-based enterprise. As we start to think about that and how changing is done, we want to make sure that that's incorporated into our life cycle and manufacturing. While we're also doing that, we consider many of us are using supplier-based parts. We're not always creating or manufacturing the components in-house. We're often working with suppliers. So when we think about a quality solution and a fully integrated solution in the value stream, we want to ensure that we're focusing on the quality of our suppliers as well as the quality of our manufacturing. So part of our solution is inclusive of our supplier quality as well. In addition to that, once we have our parts, so outside of our shop floor, we want to start building our process. And our process on the shop floor, again, with a focus on quality, is going to include, in a digital transformation or smart factory, perhaps we want to start really incorporating elements to build that digital thread and have that full genealogy and traceability from a technology standpoint. Maybe we want to have digital work instructions. We want to have fully embedded quality with any non-conformances or discrepancies that have arisen during this process. Perhaps we want to continue to close the loop on quality and include corrective action, or maybe even complete process audits and inspections. All of this we want to ensure as part of this process. And when we think of it from that digital transformation standpoint, where, think about your organization today and where you stand and what might be missing to kind of take you to that next step. And then we want to be fully inclusive of this value stream. And after our product is built, if you are working on service orders or maintenance or any aftermarket, we also want to include that as part of this process. So not just all the way from getting the supplier component through manufacturing the process, but also through the end and actually servicing that process or product. So we can see that Solumina kind of fits throughout that life cycle. And as I mentioned, in our evolution over the last over 30 years, we've continued to grow very tightly knit with our customers and our prospective customers. We really want to grow as partners and working with you, and we really take into consideration and feedback all of the ideas and the new challenges that arise as we grow toward a digital factory or smart factory. So when we take a look at the new iSeries that was released in 2020, we really kind of break that into three major components or highlights that we want to focus on with iSeries. Our user experience tied with our newest, latest, and greatest technology stack, as well as the ability to quickly develop and quickly deploy. So let's break those down a little bit more. First, when we look at our user experience, that is super important when it comes to usability and being able to function quickly on our shop floor and in our engineering organizations. With Solumina iSeries Web UI, we have a new modern web user interface. It's easy to use, it's flexible, it's available on smart devices, a phone, a tablet, whatever you need to have those operators more agile on the shop floor and be able to move around and be flexible with the work they do in a low-touch environment. We also have this ability of dual user interface, which we'll talk a little bit more on an upcoming slide. But with Solumina iSeries, it's the hybrid of both our web UI that we're talking about and we'll see later today, but also our Windows client. So for those of you who may be familiar with Solumina and iBase-t solutions in the past, our G-Series solution was more of a Windows-based client. We still have full functionality to the Windows client, and this is still going to be usable for our engineers in that rich format and rich way. So really, there's no loss of functionality here as our product continues to evolve to a web-based solution. And then finally, we have the ability for front-end UI configuration. So you can see how easy it is to adjust for configs, have additional integrations in a simpler way, as well as update the look and feel so you feel a little bit more comfortable with what you're reviewing, including language changes, color schemes, and even look and feel of your dashboards. Then we have our technology stack. So with Solumina iSeries, we're using the latest and the greatest technology stack. As I mentioned earlier, we're now cloud native and hosted on a cloud, so this makes us more agile for development, which we'll talk about in a moment. With the use of microservices and also through containerization, this gives us the ability to have quicker upgrades, be able to deploy faster, and really allows us to release those newer upgrades for you, so you're getting more and more each year, even faster than before. This also allows us to have more availability for perhaps user groups that may not have been able to deploy something quickly, or may not have the proper resources or infrastructure. So now if we think about organizations that you think, wow, I really want to get my digital transformation up and running, but we don't have the bodies, we don't have the IT staff, as things, especially now with COVID, make that difficult with resources, or we don't have the proper budget, right? With this latest and greatest technology stack, those challenges that may have been there for you in the past start to become a little bit more alleviated. And we have capabilities to allow for quicker and faster deployments with a cheaper budget, so to speak. In addition, we have our software development kit, so SDK, allowing us to customize applications and really even add additional configurations and changes. I know as a former customer in the past, it was really difficult for us to ensure that we had all of our unique use cases met very specifically with integrations and customizations. But now having to do that is even easier, allowing us to make this quickly and even have people on site, in your own organization, take care of this yourself, as well as, of course, the evolution of the product and the continued growth and working with our customers to always take our feature set to the next level. And then finally here, dev and deploy. So I kind of alluded to that with our technology, but here our organization uses an agile focus and a Solumina implementation methodology. And here we really want to focus on developing product fast and often. So we try to release 3 times a year to ensure that we're continuing to grow on our roadmap. We'll take a look at what our roadmap looks like a little bit at the end. We really want to focus on abilities by user role or user story or persona. So we're really focusing on what is it that our manufacturing engineers use, or what is it that our shop floor operators really need. Hence, iSeries focusing now from a web standpoint on execution, right? We know that there's a need in the industry for quick, low-touch execution that's agile and flexible on the shop floor. So that was our focus. So really honing in on what our industry and our customers need. And then, as I mentioned before, with containerization, we have the ability to have these low-packed upgrades. So as we implement, we can continue to evolve, and no longer are you kind of stuck in a position where you've implemented a solution and it's difficult to upgrade. Now you can upgrade quickly and easily and continue to stay on the latest and greatest revision of our product here. So you're always up to speed. So these kind of three elements really make up kind of the crux of our solution. And what is that solution? So again, if you're new to iBASE-t, you'll see that we have quite a bit that we offer as part of our digital operations suite. So we talked a little earlier when we looked at the value stream and kind of that digital, our digital transformation, what is our roadmap? We really want to focus here on many different areas, including our manufacturing and our shop floor, supplier quality, so outside of the quality within our four walls, and our MRO, so really taking a look at aftermarket, sustainment, repair, overhaul, maintenance, etc. So we do have quite a bit of functionality here, all under one license when it comes to our Solumina Operations Suite, and embedded throughout all of this is quality. So we almost joke that this is really a quality system in disguise here, because quality is number one, first and foremost, throughout our entire process, quality and control. So we see here in our solution that in addition to these kind of three areas here, we also have intelligence. So as Jennifer mentioned, we have manufacturing intelligence, which is along the lines of our reporting and analytics, which as I said before, there is another webinar on that if you'd like to check that out. And we also have SAP and our ERP and our engineering, our PLM, PDM integrators, as well as easy to integrate API connectors and BIS touch points, which allow us to connect to other systems, really kind of encompassing this full operations suite. One thing also that makes us special here is that all of our solutions really have been built through organic growth. It is really key to us that we work with our customers as their partner, ensuring that we are learning from you and what's in the industry and best practices, and really developing all of our product in-house. So we're not acquiring other companies and kind of patching this together. This is something that we're building together organically. So today, when we talk a lot about iSeries and our web UI, we're really just going to focus on a few areas here. So if this is the first time you're learning about us, this may seem daunting. We do have quite a bit of functionality here, but not to worry. With our solution, it is very easy to focus on using exactly what you need. So while you may have access to everything, you can really hone in on, my challenge is digital instructions, or my challenge is not embedding or not addressing quality issues on the shop floor. Or maybe you have a problem with supplier quality that you really need to resolve, or paperwork goes missing on your shop floor, or even you have many, many different systems that don't talk to each other, and it makes it difficult to manage or even see how you're doing that day. All of that can be solved kind of by having one solution that you use to the fullest based on what you need. Okay. So as we dive into our Solumina iSeries, I mentioned that dual user interface. So let's take a quick look at the Windows client. So folks who are used to our G series may be familiar with these screens. We have our Windows user, or our Windows client, which is really going to have that thick availability and rich functionality to allow for engineering processes and detail. You'll see here some examples of the process planning of our digital instructions. Then with our Solumina iSeries, we've introduced the web user interface, as you can see on the right-hand side. Here we have a lightweight version of how to quickly collect and consume data from what we've planned in the Windows client, and have that available on a mobile device or smart device like a tablet or a phone. So we have both user interfaces that are working together to allow for the full functionality here. As mentioned, everything is in the Windows client already, and as our product continues to grow and evolve, we continue to add more and more features to the web user interface. So for today's demo, we'll look at the web user interface in its most up-to-date release, but we'll learn that while we can use both, there may be certain areas or features that we want to focus on that we want to use Windows client versus the web UI. But today, we are going to focus on the web UI. So here's just a quick example of what that looks like from a browser. And today what we're going to focus on are just a few things, just as we scratch the surface in this demonstration of the web UI. So we'll take a look first at our shop floor and our features there. Remember, when we talk about web UI, we're starting to focus on our goal was to really get our technicians up and running on in a web user interface so that they could have that flexibility on the shop floor. So today we'll start by looking at the Supervisor Dashboard. So we'll log in as a supervisor, walk through some of our supervisor capabilities, and then jump into our technician role and our technician persona and look at their dashboard, as well as start to execute on a work order. So our digital instructions will have been built in our planning, but we're going to jump right into that shop floor experience and what that might look like for an operator there. We're also all the while going to be focusing on quality. So there's always going to be that quality that's embedded throughout. So looking at any validations, making sure certifications are correct for our operators, making sure we're using the proper tools, making sure that we're holding ourselves as operators accountable for the work that we're doing, ensuring that we are truly reading the instruction and knowing how to do the work we need to do. So we'll start there. Then we'll see how quickly and easy it is to transition to integrated quality. So we'll talk a little bit about that quality technician dashboard, so similar to our supervisor and technician dashboard. We'll create a discrepancy directly from our work order. We'll do a simple one for today's demo, but we'll be able to do simple cause analysis as well as disposition that discrepancy or non-conformance directly in the work order. So we'll see how tied together and embedded in one place. And then, of course, we want to ensure that that digital thread is being built and captured. We have traceability throughout. So we'll take a look at our as-built as we work through what we've been building and consuming throughout this whole process, and also our where used. So not just top down, but also bottom up. And we'll look at some of the reports that are generated, including our as worked, as well as our unit history report. So there's additional elements to our iSeries platform, but we'll just start by taking a look at some of the highlights here. So before I get into that, we're going to jump right into the demo. One thing to mention is that we are demonstrating this today through our latest version of iSeries, which is our i060. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the additional capabilities coming in later releases this year. Okay. All right, so here is our demonstration. And before we even jump in, we want to log into our solution. And I am logging in here as a supervisor. So this is me, myself, logging in as a supervisor. Right away, I see my supervisor dashboard, and I can see some areas where I can filter. And right away, I see program or location. And I can see some of the programs or the locations, as well as all available operations, and any stops or holds, any discrepancies. And in this example for program 1, you can see as well as everything that's on schedule or anything that's late. So you really have kind of that quick view of what's going on in this particular program, or in another case, a location. We're going to take a look at what's been assigned to everyone because as a supervisor, I don't have anything specifically assigned to me. And I can use additional features like sorting. And you'll see this kind of theme throughout all of the dashboards here. And we'll search by work order descending. And we'll see the same work order here with a bunch of different operations that are available to be reviewed. And these are, of course, open. At any point, we can save this filter. So the next time I log on, this is what will show up. So if I'm in the space program, I want to always be reviewing that program and any items here. I can click on the operation, and that's going to open up my operational flow diagram. So here on the operational flow diagram, you see it looks like a pretty intricate view of the control of how these operations are done on the shop floor. We've clicked on Op20, so we see that one's highlighted, and we see that these icons indicate if it is in queue or pending or active in this case. We see also here that we have a decision. So really our features in terms of the operation flow really allow for you to determine what sequencing you want to do of your work order. Maybe things happen in serial, or in this case, Op20 can't happen before Op15. Op 10 is pending as well because Op 3 has to start first. Op 1040 can happen anytime. And with decision nodes, you can also create returns. So you can always reiterate if you're working through, for instance, something that's in design. On the right-hand side, you see a menu or a panel here. This shifts based on the role that you're in. And as a supervisor, I can see these are my different roles. The first thing I see is that we don't have a serial number here on our work order, so let's add one. If we have, this is a unit of 1 or quantity of 1, so we're just going to add a serial. But if you had 10 or 20 or 50, you could use an auto generator to make things easier for you. And of course, with our integrations, you can always add, your work order could perhaps come from an ERP or another system with its serials. And I didn't mention, but everything we're showing today is out of the box. Okay, so we've added our serial. We see now that that serial is in queue for some of our operations, whereas not so much for the ones that are pending. That again is going to allow for that control as you're doing the work on the shop floor. So let's add a hold just for demonstration purposes here. And we see there's a lot of different hold types. So we're doing a hold manually today. We can see anything from order or operation stop, meaning it's going to halt all work, or from an order or operation completion, meaning it's going to halt at the end or completion of that operation or order, allowing you to continue through the order. So either type. We also have hold types. So really that type of hold, a description. That could be an engineering change, or in this case, a part delay. Maybe there's a part that's not quite ready yet and we need it to be finished. So we're going to just put this one on hold. So the order hold types are something that you can adjust as well to allow for flexibility and matching of what you have as best practice for your business. Here with part delay, we can select the part that's on hold. Maybe this particular part's not ready and it's critical for the consumption in this particular order for this unit. We're going to select our serial and then we can save our hold. As soon as we save our hold, we see a new hand icon has popped up at the top with a 1 notification, indicating that a hold is associated with this work order. Now we'll take a look at what that hold looks like on the execution side in a bit. So we have the ability to do notes. Maybe this is a shift note, or maybe this is a note from a supervisor to an operator. In this case, where we want to make a note to ensure that we're doing setup time on operation 14. So we put that note on our 10 op so that we make sure to check that before we move on. But this can be used in any different way. Just to go back to our dashboard here, we can see a couple of things have changed now. We notice that we see now a 1 next to hold because we've added a hold. We can click on this and we can visualize what hold has been put on here. So we'll jump back into the operations view. We can see it larger by zooming out here. And while we click on each operation, that's going to let us know what the status is over on the right-hand side in that overview panel. Now, as a supervisor, we want to talk about constraints and resources. So let's add some crew. So from the process plan that we've authored here, our work orders requiring that this operation 10 has a skill of clean room for 2 hours and a certification for certified manufacturing inspector, as well as a soldering requirement. So on the right-hand side, what we're doing is assigning our resource. So we can search by resource, or we can even search by skill or work center or certification. We can see other skills and certs this person has, our technician, Bobby Draper, and we're going to assign her 1 hour for clean room. We see she also had the soldering certification, so now that's satisfied that requirement. If we continue to look for additional resources, now in this particular operation, we see that our lead technician here has many other work order assignments, as you can see from that list. So you can see what type of availability he has. And we're going to assign him 1 hour to this order as well to satisfy that final requirement for our certification. That said, we noticed that we didn't actually satisfy the full skill requirement. So we want to meet all dependencies, and we can just make an adjustment to our technician to add that extra hour. Now, assigning crew can be beneficial because this is going to allow for your technicians to have a quick way to access any of the work in their dashboard. So you'll find that our dashboards really are used as a way of seeing what's WIP, where are things essentially falling on the shop floor. You also see now that the crew has been assigned for that operation, as it hasn't for operation 1040. Okay, now that we've done all of our supervisor capabilities for this particular order today, we are logging in as our technician, so our Bobby resource here. As she's already has a view saved from her dashboard, you can see all of the operations that are in her queue that have been assigned to her for work. You can also view the cards, and you see that she has 0% complete. So she essentially hasn't started any work on this operation. So let's get started. Right away, our eyes are drawn to the right-hand side, this big red stop sign, right? We have a hand preventing us from moving forward. This hand is really going to help show what can be done. We see here that with this hold, remember we chose a part delay order stop, so no work can be proceeded on this particular order until this hold has been removed. So we see again on the right-hand side our menu that's shifted a little bit now that we are technician, but what we want to do is remove this hold. Now, based on your business process, you may have a procedure for how you do this, but for the purpose of the demo today, we will just go in and close the hold. Maybe the part has been received and we no longer have a delay here. So we're going to save that hold. Upon releasing the hold, we see that the hand at the top icon has been removed, and now we see a completely new screen here called Need to Collect. So this Need to Collect panel essentially is your checklist, if you will, your to-do list for your operator. This is going to be where you are able to consume all of the data throughout this process. So when you're walking through your digital instruction here, it's not just the instructional information in text, but you have links, you have images, and you have the ability to consume items from your bill of material or from your parts list, tools with any level of calibration if required. You can view images or models from here. You have the ability to consume data, parametric data collections, or even connect to machines if you're trying to capture information from that as well. So with this robust plan that we've built to consume and build that, traceability or as-built, we can see here all of that is kind of in one place. You can view that by steps, or you can view it all holistically as one and click on the images to enlarge them. You can also click on any links if you have a PDF or a web URL, or if you have a PowerPoint or video or any kind of document you want to attach here as a reference, you can. And as you can see, this big yellow kind of hand there as well, it can be a standard text, you can annotate, and you can add as much rich information to your instruction as you need. At the top, what we're looking at is who's assigned to this particular operation, any skills that may be recommended, and any certifications that are required. We also draw our attention to the top orangish yellow bar here, which is our change. So again, in the theme of quality, we will always want to keep our operators accountable and really ensure that they're reading the instruction or acknowledging that a change has been made. If this is a resource who has done this many, many times, we're not going to see that change acknowledgement. This shows up automatically for any new work that this user is doing, or any changes that have been made in the last 30 days, any changes that have been made, or anything that has, if they haven't looked at it in the last 30 days. You can quickly find where your need to collect items are. In this case, it's a part. You could look for a buy-off or a tool. We'll see that throughout the demo, but it highlights exactly where it is in the instruction in case you get lost and you need to find it quickly. What we're going to do today is use our barcode scanner to scan in our serial and lot information for our tools and parts today. So what we're doing is scanning that in, and we can save. We can also add any comments. And as soon as we do hit save, we see that there's a check mark and we've completed that particular step. We want to review at any time, we can click on it and see that we can also click on the respective icon on the right-hand side in the menu to show us the information we've submitted. So here again, we are scanning in our lot information. We can scan them in many at a time and then save them all at once, just to make things easier as well. We can even say, it depends on if this is a serialized or lock controlled unit. You can just say if you've consumed it or not. And again, this is all authored in the process planning to provide this rich capability of consuming all of this information. So these parts and tools could have come from your manufacturing bill of material that's associated with this operation, or work order rather, part. We see here now we've come to a buy-off. So a buy-off essentially is that check mark or stamp that says, yes, we've done this at the end of our order. So here in this example, we want to say that we have completed it and we feel comfortable with what the work we've done. We see as a secondary buy-off, we have this feature that allows you to do somewhat of an over-the-shoulder or second set of eyes look. We see an error right away because we don't want that same user accepting that same buy-off. So really here, Bobby is going to call over her lead technician, who's also been assigned to this, and is going to switch right away. So maybe he's doing this right over her shoulder and he's going to jump right in on her machine, or he could do this on his own device or maybe a handheld device. Jumping right in, it opens right away to the buy-off he needs to complete. We also notice here there's a little bit of a different look and feel. We see that there's kind of a green instead of the black, so we can customize our color. We can even customize our language. We see that if he wants to review the work that's been done already, he can select any of these items here within the instruction itself or on the right-hand side. And we also see that there's a change acknowledgement here because we did accept that as our technician, but our lead technician isn't actually filling out the work, but this is new to him, so he does see the acknowledgement as well. There's nothing further for him to complete, so he's going to hand it back over to his technician. Again, could be over the shoulder, could be on a separate device, whatever is suitable for your process on your shop floor. So now we've seen that we've opened up the door here to the next view, to the next step 3. We see there's additional items in our need to collect. And now we see a tool. So in this tool here, we want to enter our serial number and ensure that it is a valid tool to be used. We select our expiration date, and upon submission here, we notice that this particular tool is out of calibration. So maybe we return this tool to the tool crib. Maybe this tool has to be has a new work order that needs to be created on it to adjust its calibration, or so on. Or maybe it's damaged. So this is continuing to embed that quality validation throughout the process here. Now we see that we have some data collections, parametric data collections that we need to collect. We see here we just looked at the tool, and now we have a voltage, a resistance, and a gain. So what we want to do is add that information, and maybe this comes from a task we're doing or even from a machine. We see that we want to ensure it's within tolerance. So we've set that there's a lower and an upper level or tolerance for these particular values. Today we're having a good day, so everything is within the limits. We could also set a target limit if we had chosen to do so. And as we set things in the limits, everything is going to move through smoothly. Now, if something was out of tolerance, perhaps we would get a warning and we would need to take action on that as well. But in today's demo, everything's going smoothly. We can review here all of the data that's been collected, just as we have been able to do for this whole process. We see now that in our step here, we've come to another buy-off. So in this buy-off, we have our certification and we are all set, so we are going to approve. Now we see that we have a final buy-off here for inspection, but we do not have the appropriate certification to do that inspection. So I want to call over my quality inspector. Now you remember we didn't assign him to our work order, but that's okay. Anyone can pick up the order even if they're not assigned. So if you don't get a chance to do crew assignments, or if there's just so much work or there's a priority shift, anyone can pick up the order at any time as long as they have the appropriate skills or certifications. So Joe is going to have a look at some of the work that's been done. He's also going to review the product in front of him and ensure that the soldering looks meets expectations. And if all looks good, he's going to go ahead and accept that buy-off, and is now, since he's there with Bobby, our technician, he's just going to go ahead and complete that order for her, or operation for her. Unfortunately, he didn't acknowledge the changes that have been made, so he needs to acknowledge that before proceeding. So again, you notice often there's yellow and red warnings throughout. This is really going to help control the flow of work and ensure that our operators are accountable as you walk through this process. We're going to select what our operation is that we want to go to next, and Joe is going to switch back to Bobby to transition to that. Now, as we look through this, I know that there's quite a bit that we're walking through. We really want to highlight many of the capabilities that we have as per this demonstration here. But again, all of this, it is what you make of it. So as you're authoring, you can continue to add as much or as little detail as you feel you need to really build that digital thread. You notice that Bobby has gone back from the OFD into the previous work order that was the previous operation that was just closed. She can reopen that if she needs to, if an issue has occurred. But she also went in, I don't know if you saw it quickly, we reviewed the note. The note reminded us that we needed to do setup time on our operation 14. So we're going to sign on to setup. We can also sign on to rework or even run. Now in the previous op, we didn't sign on to labor because it automatically kicks on the second you start doing work on this operation. You can even set up your operation to auto start or auto complete. That's going to trigger labor as well. You can set up a operation, again, depends on your business, but you can have a setup operation, even a setup step if you'd like, and then sign on to setup or even rework depending on what you're doing. You can see here that she's now signed off, and as soon as we start working on this, we'll take a look at it at the end, we'll notice that the work has been, she has already been logged on for labor. So again, with our barcode scanner, and we're scanning 2D and different types of barcodes here, we scan that out, or we can type it up and save it. We see the check mark again as we go through this process. And one thing also I wanted to note is this particular operation is a standard operation. So when we're talking about operations and building the process, we can really make that a lot easier by creating standard templates, standard ops, and perhaps this conformal code operation is done in a batch. So you'll see in a soon to come release, we're going to allow for batch jobbing to happen in the iSeries platform here in the web UI. So we'll have additional capabilities. We can see here that that's been completed, and now as we look at our extended operation, we see some additional information needs to be collected, including our start, end, cure time, and total cure time. Now in this case, we want to use a calculation. So again, this can be authored in the process plan. So here we're selecting our start time and our end time. Now if we revisit step 2 here in our oven cure instruction, we see that we want to have the assembly at 160 degrees plus or minus 10 and cure for about 2 hours, which is 120 minutes. So when we select this, today we're going to say this is about 125 minutes, I believe. Yes, we're going to say an additional 5 minutes over the 2 hours. So we can use embedded calculations in the process to allow for us not to have to do any manual calculations ourselves and perhaps make mistakes. We know operators are busy on the shop floor. We want to try to make their lives as easy as possible by having things like calculations, barcode scanning, error warnings to really ensure that what they're doing is effective and as seamless and efficient as possible. So we see our value here is 125. Everything looks good, so we are ready to accept this final buy-off for this operation and complete the op. Before we do that, just a quick note, you see that we were automatically signed on already, and as soon as we complete this operation, it will automatically sign us off. Now for between shifts, of course, we can sign off manually, no worries there. And this at any time can integrate to a labor system as well to have that full picture of your solution. So on our demo today, this is our final operation, and here we have an inspection operation. So we see that while this is an inspection operation, Bobby hasn't actually been assigned to this, but because this is something she's done in the past, this is a simple inspection, she's going to do a once over first before handing it over to her quality inspector, Joe, our friend Joe again. So we see here, this has just gone through the conformal code. It's time to be reviewed. And now as we take a look, we know that we want to make sure that there's minimal voids associated with this. But while she notices this, she actually sees that there are some voids present. So she's going to use this optional data collection here to upload a file. We see that kind of a fast forward looking button that's going to allow us to skip this operation or data collection if we don't need to fill it in. We also get a warning here saying, she's not technically an inspector, so she is going to have someone who has that certification come in and look at this before she completes the operation. Because of the instructions saying she needs to create a discrepancy, she's going to do that immediately and directly from this work order. So back to our agenda, we talked about our shop floor, our technician, our supervisor dashboard, and execution. We've seen embedded quality. And now here we want to jump into the actual creation of a non-conformance or a discrepancy that may arise directly here in the work order instead of in a separate system or maybe even on paper that may get lost or not incorporated along the way. So here we see it's directly created from our rejection of a buy-off, and we can create our discrepancy. We could also create it ad hoc. Automatically, the serial that we are looking at has been added. We can select what workflow this is. Since this is a simple one, we'll stay in our just process review, but if there is something that's more serious that needs to go to engineering or needs to go to customer review or MRB, all of that can be assigned as well and go through a proper workflow to ensure the right hands or right eyes get on it. Here we're adding some additional information to continue to help for reporting in the future or just really categorize the types of discrepancies we're getting. Again, we joke about our quality system here. We really want to make it easy for resources for our leadership and our shop floor manufacturing organization to really identify any issues so that we can continue to use things like corrective action in the future to incorporate those changes going forward. Corrective action being one of those items that will be coming in a soon release in the web UI later this year. As we add additional information, we can sort that and organize it. And then when we hit save, we will see now that our discrepancy has been created with our reject, as long as the hand has returned. So the hand now is going to tell us what holds we have. We see this one was auto-generated with the discrepancy of 220. That's our ID. And this is now, instead of that hand blocking the needs to collect panel, this is going to show that it is a order completion hold, so a lien, essentially, saying you can continue to go through the work order, but you can't complete the order until the discrepancy has been dispositioned. So at this time, now just something that Bobby may want to do is let Joe know that she's received an issue and she's submitted a discrepancy. Now Joe will know because this is on his dashboard, but she's just going to send him a quick note anyway, just saying, hey, I saw an issue and as a result, I've submitted a discrepancy. Maybe this isn't a big deal. Maybe this is something we can continue to proceed with, but I just wanted to raise awareness. So this can be done just to assist, and we'll see that this is an internal messaging in the product. So as she's creating this, again, Joe can take this from his own machine, or he can do another over-the-shoulder kind of look, which we'll take a look at, but she wants to make sure that he gets the message. In addition, just to really ensure he gets the message, she's going to assign this to him. So this can be assigned to anyone. Just because it's assigned to that person doesn't mean they need to pick it up, but because Joe is the one who's working in her operation, in her work center, she's going to just assign it to him and he'll see this on his dashboard. The quality dashboard is going to show very similar to the technician, but it's going to show any open buy-offs that need to be completed as well as any open discrepancies. So just to keep things simple, Joe's going to jump right in on her machine here. And going to click on the discrepancies panel and is going to see that we have a discrepancy that's been open and initiated, as well as a message, which he can review, he can delete, he can mark as read or reply. We see the image that's been attached. We also attach this image, of course, to the discrepancy itself. And now that he has the background information that he's reviewed, he can open up the discrepancy. So this discrepancy item here is what we see now on the screen. We see the image, we see the details we've added, and perhaps as we're initiating this discrepancy, we want to add more information. This is going to help provide additional objective evidence so we can have better reporting and also have more information in terms of potentially corrective action in the future. So here we're going to just select a couple of things. Most of this is optional, but again, it's up to your business process here. You can, if this is even a supplier problem, you can even add any POs that this was associated with or any other issues or even the supplier. You can move things around. We identified this as a minor issue. We saved it and we can see now that that's updated on the left-hand side. We also noticed that the menu has changed on the right-hand side. So again, remember, supervisor looked a little different than technician, which looks a little different than our quality inspector. We see here as he is reviewing our discrepancy, we can select a component. We're not going to do that today, but if perhaps this is a bigger issue, maybe there's a screw that needs to be removed and replaced, we can identify that specific component in the unit that needs to be addressed and disposition that separately as well. Here we're looking at previous discrepancies that have been added against other work orders perhaps, and we can even compare. This would really come in handy when we talk about corrective action in the future, because this might be something you want to associate with one corrective action so we can hopefully reduce the amount of issues or escapes we have on the shop floor. In this example here, we want to do a simple cause analysis. So maybe we say the responsible area as well as the cause type. We can also add any descriptive evidence or issues or details that we want to include if we really have identified the cause. You know, perhaps this is a work instruction issue and we need to take that back to engineering to review. The initiation is complete and we're going to update the status, and it takes us to the next stage in our workflow. Since this is a simple workflow with just a simple process review, we're going to go ahead and disposition. But of course, we could always edit this and adjust it to MRB or to customer review or even an engineering review. We see there's a lot of different disposition types here. We're going to stick with the as is today, but additionally, you can create rework instructions directly in this space. So you can create instructions to embed in the work order itself. So everything is automatically there. You can even create work orders, additional rework orders as well. All of this, because it is embedded and integrated to the solution, is all tied together. So you'll always have that traceability throughout, as well as see that availability on the as-built, which we'll take a look at in just the end of the demo. We see here that the status has been updated to now dispositioned, and this is essentially a use as is, so we're just going to continue to proceed, and as a result, the discrepancy is now closed. We see that the hand is gone, and we can continue to go through the execution of our work order. We also see the history here of our discrepancy. And now we're going to jump back in as our technician, and she's going to review the discrepancy and see that that has been dispositioned. We see that this is, we have a use as is, so we can continue to proceed. It's been closed. So she can change that thumbs down to a thumbs up. She's now accepting the buy off and is now ready to hand it back to Joe, who already is pretty familiar now with this particular operation in this unit. And he's going to just complete our final buy off to close our operation. So again, jumping back to him, and he's already reviewed everything, so he can simply accept the buy off and acknowledge the change, allowing him to complete this op. So that's essentially going to take us through some examples of what execution might look like. Again, remember that it is what you make of it. The detail you put in to consume in your work order is really what you're going to see. So what you build is what you get on the shop floor. Finally, today we'll take a look at traceability. So we'll go over to the menu and select our unit information, and let's pull up exactly what we just worked on today, our terminal 3. Our part number here and our unit that we've selected, our serial number, we can click a view. This one is not complete, so you don't have to wait until the unit has been completed. You can view this at any time. We see that in one of our operations, we added a subassembly or CCA or circuit card, and we see that there's been some components accepted on that as well. So we can see a multi-level indented approach here. We also see the ability to view any discrepancies that are associated with these particular units, as well as any holds that have been associated. So you can see by clicking on that. There are no notifications on any because we don't have any open items, open discrepancies. We look over here, we see that we can print our as worked report. So essentially that tree looking formation or indented view of our of what has been worked on in this particular unit. So you can see as well what level it is. So this is the extended view. Now, of course, this might be far more robust, but in this simple example, we just have our 2 levels here. Now we go back and we want to reopen our unit information. And this time we're going to take a look at a specific component that we used in that subassembly. So let's just open that up and take a look. So we're going to open up one of our subassemblies and pick one of the lots. And we had in our subassembly, this particular capacitor was used. So we can see here, it's defaulted to as built, but we're not building that. So let's look at the where used. We see it's been used in 3 different units. And we can even view the status of those units. Again, you can continue to view the discrepancies or holds that have been associated with that. Now we want to take a look at our unit history. So just as another example, again, due to our architecture, we have the Elasticsearch at the top, which allows you to put in any 3 numbers that are going to help you find any work orders, any serial numbers, any discrepancy item record numbers, and any other information here as you search for work in your solution, in the product. So we're opening up this particular work order. This was our subassembly that we used, that we saw in our as-built. And we can see this is the operation flow diagram. It's a lot simpler than we used before. We can click on the unit information directly there, or even click on print to view any other unit history. And this is going to open up a PDF that will allow us to print it and use it. And it has lots of information on here on everything that's been built, as well as images, buy-offs, data collections, part numbers consumed, you name it, it's on here, as well as our discrepancies that are associated. So really, if this is needed for compliance or your record keeping, this is something you can use. Okay, so we just spent about 35 minutes going over the demo here, and I'm going to jump us back to our presentation. Hopefully you're all still with me. I know that that was a lot, but there is just so much more that we have in our solution here that we're so proud of. So we really encourage that if there's additional information you're looking for, I really do hope you are adding some questions to the chat there that we can take at the end of the session. But there's so much more we can share with you and so much more to come. So this is just an introduction here to what we can offer. And again, while we do offer many, many, many capabilities, you do have the ability to focus in on exactly what you need specifically. So again, the work that you put into what your order looks like and planning is what you'll get on the shop floor, so they can be organized in any different type of way you want. For the purpose of today's demo, I wanted to give you just a taste of some of the capabilities that many of our current customers really love today. And again, what we saw, which was, I know, maybe a lot, but really good to see some of the features and how that differs from our previous releases in our past. We focused on our shop floor, so we looked at our supervisor and technician dashboards. Dashboard, again, meaning kind of that place to review all of the WIP and what's going on the shop floor, not so much the metrics and reporting, which will be covered more in something like a manufacturing intelligence. This is where we looked at our work order execution through our digital instructions that we had built prior. So embedding the capability, the resources to consume all of that great data that's going to build our digital footprint and really get us on board. This is also going to be where we consume all of that information and validate our quality. So really holding our users accountable, ensuring they have the proper tools that they're using, that they're properly calibrated, ensuring that they have certifications and that none of the certifications are expired, or even looking at an over inspection or over the shoulder inspection, coming soon to the web UI. We have quality, kind of shop floor quality as well as enterprise quality. So what we highlighted today was just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to quality, but we looked at we talked about our quality technician dashboard. We created immediately a discrepancy or a non-conformance directly in the work order to make sure nothing got lost and was accounted for. We did a simple cause analysis and we dispositioned to use as is. But again, the disposition could be rework. You could include an embedded instruction or directly in there, even do a squawk, which allows for a very quick discrepancy creation and instruction. And then finally today we looked at traceability. So we had a quick look at our as-built as well as our unit history as used or as worked reports. This traceability is really going to give you that visual to your digital footprint and really ensure that you're capturing all of that great information that you've been, or really visualizing that information that you've been capturing all along your process. Okay. So let's briefly talk about what's coming soon. As I mentioned, our product team is diligently working on continuing to evolve our product with several releases a year, again, thanks to our infrastructure and architecture. And some of the things we can look forward to in the upcoming year for some of our upcoming releases. We're focusing on process planning, our shop floor execution supervisors, as well as any quality. Today, we didn't talk about supplier quality, but supplier quality is also available in our solution. So just a quick note on that, if you are interested specifically in working with your suppliers to ensure any receiving or source inspections, that can be available to your suppliers to use at their site as well. So from a process planning standpoint, we'll be introducing process planning light to the web user interface by allowing plan approvals, the review of plans, comparisons, assignment, etc. So just getting started with process planning. Furthermore, we're going to continue to evolve and enhance the execution of what we've already seen today. So more dashboard enhancements. Every release we have additional ones. Over-the-shoulder inspection, so allowing more training capabilities for our operators. I talked briefly about batch processing for our standard operations. Material outcome tracking, that's a capability we kind of tried to simulate somewhat with our calculations, but can do more so with that, with our solution there. And also with alternate parts, we'll be allowed to select additional alternate parts for consumption. So quite a bit coming for our shop floor experience. And then of course, quality, again, always a highlight here. Lots more happening with both shop floor quality, enterprise quality, as well as supplier quality. So from a shop floor standpoint, improving and enhancing the discrepancy process, allowing discrepancy items for components from as worked. We're making some improvements to inspection orders. We didn't talk much about inspections today, but that's another process that can be done in our in the web UI. We also have new to the web UI being introduced is our corrective action. This again, all of these capabilities are already present in the iSeries solution in our Windows client that we saw earlier, but these items here that we're focusing on are the latest and greatest coming to the web UI experience. So that is all coming soon in the next year. So really just to wrap up here as we leave some about half an hour or 25 minutes for questions. You know, we saw a lot today. We saw iSeries and we talked a little bit about our company and some of the values here, but at the end of the day, you know, why is iSeries the right fit for you, especially if you consider yourself new to your digital transformation? You're really doing your assessment, you're making your checklist and you're thinking, how do I even get started on my digital transformation? Why talk to iBase-t and why consider Solumina iSeries? How is this going to help me on your shop floor? Well, there's a lot of reasons that we think about this. One of which is our modern web-based user interface. So if you think about it, right now you may be using paper on your shop floor. And this is something that you want to have, something that people are familiar with, something that people are able to quickly and easily use. and be able to access from anywhere. So that may be from a mobile device or tablet on your shop floor. So really have that modern, friendly look and feel that's going to help make your operators feel more comfortable in doing the work quickly and more efficiently. Embedded quality management throughout. I can't stress enough how important quality is, and should be to everyone here as well. Making sure that when you are building your product, not only are you pulling in quality product from suppliers, having a quality process throughout, and validating quality throughout as well. So really having that fully incorporated into the product is going to allow for things to really be captured and controlled. Detailed manufacturing planning is going to help assist from a digital standpoint. With that detailed manufacturing planning, you are able to fully, richly consume the resources you need. So from your bill of material, from your parts list, additional tools, images, in the world of model-based engineering, which is coming soon as well, being able to review those models and develop and extract information directly from those models as you're building from a design. All of this rich information, being able to plan it in one system and then execute upon it in the same system, visualizing exactly what we planned. It's all in one place. Having the ability to be focused on smart factory. We didn't talk too much about integrations here, but really getting you on the right path. Maybe you're not ready for that in your digital transformation. You have to start where you think makes sense. Remember, when it comes to digital transformation, you're not gonna snap your fingers and it's going to happen. It's going to take time, right? And you come up with different milestones that you want to achieve and goals that you want to meet as an organization. But with Solumina iSeries, we really want to set you up for success so that you have the capabilities in place that when you are ready in your digital transformation, you are able to connect the dots and start setting that up to integrate machines or other smart devices. We have the latest and greatest technology stack, as I mentioned before. With cloud native applications, you're able to bring up not only upgrades, but implement quickly. We can implement and moving this up very quickly, allowing you to get right to what you need to solve the problem soon. So if you're looking to implement quickly so that you can really address any issues that you're facing on the shop floor or concerns, or even just trying to meet new goals in your digital transformation, that will help you with this new technology stack. I kind of mentioned before with the smart factory, but having the solution integrated with other solutions in the enterprise ecosystem. So perhaps you are using an ERP system today, or a PLM or a PDM system, or even a training system or a tool management system. All of these can be fully integrated. You can also do an assessment to see, well, where can we use iBASEt's digital operations suite of solutions to maybe even kind of solve that problem that we were using with all these disparate systems in the past. But our product is meant to be used as incorporated with our ERP and PLM to really give that full picture of the full enterprise ecosystem. As I mentioned, I can't stress enough how great our product team is in really working diligently toward releasing 3 new releases a year, really committed to our product roadmap, but not so much just that in moving and evolving our product to iSeries, but also really working and really listening to our existing customers and to the industry about what are their most pressing needs. How do we need to not only evolve with our customers, but how do we evolve with the industry and industry trends? So we're always staying on top of that, releasing these new releases to enhance the experience for our complex, discrete aerospace customers. We have best-in-class professional services. Our team is going to work with you to quickly, in an agile sense, bring up the product and have it up and running. This is going to allow for you, they've done this hundreds of times. They know how to do this. They can work with you to really come up with what the best solution is for you. We have the ability to leverage any new technology. So again, integrations to different IIoT solutions, if that's where you are in your stage for your digital transformation, giving you those capabilities. And then finally, with manufacturing intelligence and other internal reporting, you have the capability to visualize the full shop floor experience, your full business. So you'll be able to take data from the database, conceptualize that with metrics, really identify KPIs, other performance metrics to really visualize trends on the shop floor. And I don't mean, you know, after weeks of collaborating all of this data, but in near real time, like capturing that at your fingertips, near real time. How am I doing today, not 2 weeks ago? So all of these capabilities kind of make up our iSeries solution suite, and really can help kind of take you to the next step wherever you are on your journey. So essentially that concludes our session here. I've been talking quite a bit, but I hope I can hear from some of you all today with your questions. And as I said, we did cover a lot of ground today, but there may be some more details that you're interested in learning more about. So I would certainly encourage you to check out our website. There's a couple of videos there that could give you some more information about some of our functional areas that we support, as well as reaching out to our team here to talk to you more about what we can do for you if you're still kind of stuck at that position of how do I start? Where do I want a digital transformation, but how do I even begin? We can help you with that. So please do reach out to us. I hope today was informative for you. And at this time, I would love to see what questions you have for me.
Thank you, Erin, for your great presentation. Now, everyone, will start the Q&A portion of the webinar. If you do have questions that you'd like to ask, please do so now by submitting your questions via the questions box in the control panel. And I'll give everyone a little bit of time to do that. But I do, Erin, see a question that has come in. Is there a log that would allow for someone to just poke around and create dummy plans?
Sorry, so like a sandbox for now, or do you mean after implementing? You know, right now we have, you know, of course, if you mean like a sandbox. Yeah, for prospective customers, I think it would be better if you maybe reached out to us and we could talk to you a little bit more about that. At the moment, we don't have like a public sandbox to play around with this, but I know we did share with you quite a bit of information just now. So I certainly would encourage you to review the video again and pause it and kind of take in all the information I shared. But certainly reach out to us if you are interested in seeing it more. We can dive into the product deeper, and you know, if we talk a little bit more about how the solution might help you in your business, we can talk about what you know, a sandbox that might be available for you to play around with it to create dummy plans and such. I hope that answered the question.
Let me move on to the next one. What are the options to connect to SAP?
Great question. So we have, I'm just going to quickly jump back to our slide here showing the full suite. So what we have for both SAP for ERP, as well as PLM, Siemens with Teamcenter, and PTC Windchill. So we have connectors that are already built in place that can be used to get your SAP integration or your Teamcenter or Windchill connection up and running. Now, and this is essentially provided to you. So if there's if you're not using SAP, or if you're not using Teamcenter or Windchill for your PLM, PDM, or ERP systems, not to worry. We do have a full suite of BIS touch points, our business integrated systems, essentially these touch points that allow for very quick connectivity to other ERP systems or other PLM, PDM systems. So we do, our services team has done extensive work in allowing for this to be a lot easier in terms of making those connections. So you can talk to us more about our offerings there. You can see that here.
The next question is, does it use iDocs or RFC?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. iDocs, I think I would need a little bit more information. Maybe you could send some more information on that. And if I don't have an answer for you, we can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay. Yeah, Rama asked the question, and Rama, we can kind of table that, and Erin can get back to you after the webinar to get some more information. That works? She said thank you, so perfect.
Okay.
And Erin, I'll share that information with you after the webinar.
Excellent.
I'll share her contact information.
Great.
And just want to know if anyone else has any more questions. If not, I want to thank everybody for their time today. Thank you to the audience for joining us. I know it was a long presentation, but it was a really great presentation and very informative, Erin. So thank you very much for all your knowledge. And
yeah, and if there's other questions as they trickle in, you know, please reach out. We want to be here to help kind of give you a comfort level on what we're presenting today and really help see if this is a right fit for you.
Great. And everyone on this call will also get a copy of this presentation via email, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for your time, everyone. I appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.